Hey, this is 6-Bolt Von Doom's lab. It's going to be Hook of the Reaper, release 1.2.4. So instead of awkward saying 1.2.4, it should say just 1.2.4. Sounds better. So this is going to be release 1.2.4. So this one's going to be a little bit different. So there was a couple bugs that I fixed. And the next thing is, as people saw, I got some of the light controller code in. And this is kind of giving probably people who probably have experience it and try to get some more feedback. But I'll kind of go more into explaining what I'm trying to get out later. But so let's go through the bugs that we have. So the first one was the life value command was not working, so it was down here. It took a little bit to figure out, but actually this was found by JP on Discord. So thanks to him for this. So actually the code and everything was working correctly. Just one thing is it was actually in kind of the wrong place. So for the Hook of the Reaper, the hooker engine, when I process the data coming from the TCP packet, the filtered data, so these are the only like the output signals that I care about, when they come in, then it brings up what command that I'm looking for. So of course you have the player, so does the player figure out is this a player 1, player 2, player 3, or all? Then after that, it loads up the command in the list. So what I found out, about half the commands file in through A through D, then the other half is through E through Z. So what I did is I actually put in life value in A through D. So as you find out is L doesn't go through A through D. So it's actually in the E through Z. So after I found that out and put it into the right section, everything worked fine. So pretty much because there is no default LG file that I have uses life value right now. So that's probably why it never kind of was found until somebody actually used the command for what it was used for. So life value actually does damage in the death command, where death value just does death. Life value does damage in death. So, but now I found out it was working, and so thanks to JP on finding that, actually testing things out. He's probably tested tons of features probably that no one has ever used with Hook of the Reaper. So he's finding quite a few bugs, which is really good. Then the next bug was some of it was easy, some of it was hard. So that was not all the output signals were showing up on the display. The first one was kind of easy to figure out. It was the filtered signals going in to be processed from the TCP socket wasn't being put into the display stuff. So that is actually two separate things. So you have what goes up on the display and what goes into a new file when you turn on new file creation. Though versus the filtered stuff is two separate things. So now I just put a thing in, so now it sends the filter to the display stuff. So now that all was getting in. Then the other thing, it was kind of more of a race condition with two threads. So kind of what happens now is the TCP socket tells the hooker engine like, hey, a game started. So then the socket thinks a game has started, so it kind of treats the data different. But in the hooker engine, it says, okay, a game has started, so it takes the game name and then it searches. If you're doing the default settings, it'll look for the default LG game file first. If it doesn't find it, then it looks for the main hooker INI game file. If it doesn't find it, then it looks for a default LG default file. Then if it doesn't find that, then it just doesn't do anything, right? So it first goes through all that trying to search for it, and if you have it set to do memehooker ini first, then it does the memehooker ini, then the default LG, then looking for the memehooker default file. So then once it finds the file, it has to load it up, and it does all those checks and all that. Then once it does all of its checks, then it has the output signals that it cares about. Then that sends it to the TCP socket and say, hey, these are the signals. Then it kind of goes into game mode. So that's how, the TCP socket thinks it's in game mode, but the hooker engine has to do some things before it gets into the game mode. So it's kind of like a race thing. And that's why some of the signals weren't showing up right away. So they would show up once they get changed again. So the way the data works, it's not until it's changed before the data goes out. So sometimes like the life signal won't change until you started the game and start playing it, and then life will come up. So I think I got most all the signals. Like I said, it's a little weird. That's kind of some of the problem with multi-threading. You do have the kind of these race and wait and hold conditions. I mean, I definitely ran into it with the light controller code, because that's all on its separate thread too. When it's all on its own thread, it kind of makes it easy, but still, even doing like when you have like the file doesn't check out and you just want to pop up like a little message box saying, hey, something failed, that's a little hard because the separate thread can't do that. It has to go tell the main thread to put it up, then it goes out. And also for a safety thing too, I put in a little wait function for the serial port and the USB HID, because also before I process the data process the TCP data coming in that it's filtered, I wait until the light guns get connected. So if it's not connected yet, it just kind of ignores the data. So I thought it would probably be good to put in a wait. So I put in a little like, oh, wait 1 millisecond, then I'll check it, wait 1 millisecond and check it, up to 50 milliseconds. And that's for serial port and USB HID. The TCP server for the SYNDIN already waits. It just sits there and waits till it connects. So that was already waiting for it to connect anyways. So now the serial port and USB HID are really fast anyway, so it should connect really, but just to sync up everything. So to make sure everything's synced up, all the threads are synced up, because like I said, it's the whole hooker engine is kind of more 3 threads. The TCP is 1 thread, then the output side is its own thread too. Then you have the main thread of the hooker engine. So that is all, should be all fixed and put into this release. And thanks to JP again, who actually found this out again. So he found all the bugs. So like I said, he's testing out a lot of stuff with Hook of the Reaper. He's probably doing a lot of trying to do everything with it, so which is pretty cool. It's great to see, because you put your time into a program, and then when somebody actually goes and uses everything, it's really cool to actually see that. Okay, so that's with the bugs. So let's kind of get on to what people are probably waiting for, is the new light controller code that I put in. Then, like I don't know if people saw, but just I had a 40-second video of showing off the light controller working and how it was using. So now, for this one now, only certain Ultramark light controllers are supported right now. That's the Nano LED, the Pack 64 LED, which I was using in the video, and the iPack Ultimate IO, which has like 96 LED pins or 32 RGB pins. So those are the ones that you can use and are supported in this release. The iPack, the UHID, and the Blue HID will come later. So those are the other ones, and those are a little bit different because they only have 16 LEDs. They don't have the intensity stuff, so they're on or off. So I kind of focus more on the bigger ones, and I think these are more what people have. So so when you go into now Hook of the Reaper, here I'll bring it up here, is now you will see if you hit File, the Add COM device is gone and it got replaced with Add Light Controller. And if you go to Edit, you'll have Edit Light Controller. So if you come here to Add Light Controller, it's pretty easy. These here, you can't do anything. I made it so you can't change any of this. So pretty much all this is kind of just info. And then if you have multiple controllers, it will be here. So as you can see, I have the Ultramark Pack LED 64. And you can see the ID is 0, and you kind of get that from the product ID. So it's 1401. So that will come up. So if you have more, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then how to really add it, you make a group file. So when you hit group file, it will bring you up to the light controller thing, our directory now, that is in Hook of the Reaper. So you should see light controller. Then you can pick a group file out of that, and you go. And that's pretty much all of it. Then you can just hit add. So I'll do that now. And as you can see, since I only had one, it takes it out, and it goes, no light controllers found. So that's pretty much how you add it. Doing the group file is a lot harder, so I'll kind of go show that in a little bit. Then here you can go edit it, since now I have a light controller in. So one thing, key piece you want to know is you'll need to know this number right here. So the first light controller you add will be light controller 0. Then the next one will be 1, then the after that will be 2. And if you ever forget, you can come to Edit Light Controllers, and it'll tell you here in the first number. The first number is the light controller number, 0, which is different from, it can be different from the ID, because the ID is you can go in and program it to make different ones. So if you had like 6 of the pack LEDs, you can make it from 0 to 5 if you wanted to, which shows up as 1 to 6. But when I read it, it comes up at 0 to 5, because in electrical engineering, you always start with 0. You don't start with 1. So that's kind of why, just to make it kind of simple, I just made it 0, 2. But that's the only one you know, because that happens with pins, but you don't worry about pins or players or anything. So pin 1 is you put in at pin 1. You don't put pin 0 in. So there's no pins. If you put pin 0 in, it'll error out. But here you can hit the set again and change it if you want to. So I can go change it to the other file I had. Then you can just hit edit. And that's it. That's how you edit it pretty much, to do a different file. But that's pretty much how you add one and how you kind of edit it. But don't worry, I put in files for the group file and the game files. That'll explain everything. So I'll go into that later. Okay. So and another thing is when you save that light controller, it will create a new file in the directory of the data. And I think it's called like light controller. So now if I go into data, yeah, you'll see a new file called lightcontrollers.hor. That's where the data is stored. So next time when you open it up, it'll know where it is and reload it. So if now here you can see it. So you can see it here, close it, and if I shut it down and reopen it, all the information there, same controller file and all that. So all that's taken care of, which is good, because that was a lot of kind of coding, getting that in, putting in a new window and everything. Okay, but behind like the things with the hooker engine, I did like a hook light, what I call it, which is, kind of goes along with it. So that loads in the light controller game files. Then that kind of works with the light controller. So the hook light kind of, checks it, gets the filtered process data from the TCP socket. So once it reads the game file, it gets what outputs the signals, what it's looking for, and it sends that off to the TCP data too. So now the TCP data is kind of weird. I have where, if when you send, the signals, if both of them, the light gun and the light controller send signals, it will check the signals if they're same signals that they're looking for, the same one. So if you're both have like P1 CTM recoil, if both of them are looking for that, that will go put into a both kind of list and put in. Then once it gets it, then it'll send it both to the light gun and to the light controller. Then it looks at the light gun controller signals that are left over. Then it looks over, or light gun, then it looks at the light controller signals that are left over. So there's like 3 stages. There's both light gun, light controller. So try to make it work as fast as possible. Then once it gets the data, then it can easily just executes the command to the light controller, which then will do all the, tells the, I have called like plaque drive code. Then that will go out and tell whatever the PCB to turn on what LEDs and all that. So right now I just have 7 RGB commands. And when I say RGB commands, that means you have a red, green, and blue LED. So there's 3 of them. And you combine those to any color, since you can mess with the intensity to kind of make any color out of it. But I don't have any regular LED. So if you just have like a blue button with the LED that lights up, then this is not going to work because it needs RGB things. So I just started out with RGB first because I thought people might have that more than anything else. Okay, so kind of what I wrote here is kind of more what I'm kind of why I released this kind of early. So my plan is to try to get feedback. So I'm kind of releasing out to people who have experience with light controllers and try to get their advice to make sure I'm headed in the right direction. And if I'm not, try to get data to say, hey, this is wrong, or you're going in the right direction, but you need to change X, Y, and Z kind of things. Or, hey, it would be great to have like this command or that command, or if we could do this. That's kind of more what I'm looking for. Because light guns, I think I can go, hey, I knew where to be headed, but since this is like kind of the first light controller I have, and I don't have a big arcade thing, I'm kind of making sure I want to be headed in the right direction since I don't have the experience of it. So this is kind of more for the light controller stuff right now. It's for more advanced users. So if you don't have a light controller, then yeah, it's not going to be for you right now. And also if you're like an inexperienced user, a new user, and you haven't done any light coding, controller code, if you haven't ever set up MameHooker to do light controller, then this is probably maybe not for you. And also there's pretty much no risk to your light controller. I know you put little to no risk, but it's pretty much none. So what happens when I turn it on and it loads up the light controller? What I do right now, I do make all the sets true for the 64 LEDs, or it'll be the 20 LEDs in the nano LED or 96 in the pack ultimate. I set them all true, but then I make all the intensity 0 by using these commands here. So pretty much I set all the intensity to 0, which turns off all the LEDs. And this is to make it into a known state. So I know everything's off it's set true, but intensity's off. Then when I do the RGB commands, I use pack64 set intensity 3 times. One for red, one for green, and one for blue. And that's pretty much all I do. And so I'm not messing with any programs or code that are on it. Then once you're done, you can just reset it and it'll go right back to it. So there's no really risk to anything. So, okay. And the reason why I want to have the feedback is pretty much I'm going into surgery actually tomorrow and probably going to be out for a week or two. It's not that bad of a surgery. It's probably one of the lightest ones I ever had, so it's not really that bad. But probably be out for a week, maybe two. And I just plan to have this feedback so then I can architect out how I want to go forward with the light controllers. So that was kind of my plan. So that's why I thought if I release it and give it to people and get feedback, then I'll have something to put my mind to during that time when I'm just sitting on the couch and bored out of my mind kind of thing. That's where I do a lot of the coding for Hook of the Reaper when I'm just sitting around. I architect things out and figure out where things are going to go. So that's kind of why I thought I release it early and also my inexperience with light controllers. Okay, so now let's go over the group file. So actually, when you get the new release, if you go into light controller, you'll have called group file info. And that will have pretty much all the info. Oops, the wrong one. I moved the wrong one. All you want. Sorry, I'm moving this back. So this is the group file info text. And that explains all kind of the stuff that goes into it. And up here I have the supported devices with the pins and the RGB. But before I do that, I'll just show you kind of example of what a group file looks like. So this is one of the group files I was using. So this is just RGB. So you put group RGB, then you put the group number after it. Then the group number can be 0 to up to 255. So it's an 8-bit number. So you can have 256 groups. And as you can see here, this is all the pins that go into the group. And it can be in multiple lines. So you can have one line with groups, one line of groups, or you can put spaces in here. It doesn't really matter because when I load it up, I take all the spaces out of it. So what it actually looks for, it's looking for the next group, right? It's looking for this GRP, or is it looking for color to stop? That's kind of where it looks. But you can have any, blank space anywhere. One bad thing, you can't really put any notes in like this because it's looking for that. But what you can do is you can take a color, take it out of there, put it here, and now you can, put a note in here and it'll be fine. Because then that color stops that from saying, hey, is there more numbers or anything? When it gets that color, it knows that group is ended kind of thing. So if you really want to put notes in and all that, you can. And also in the beginning, too, you can put notes in because it will start searching for a group when it gets that. So after that, so you can put stuff up here if you wanted to. So that's some ways to kind of get around it. So as you can see here, this is right here. This is 4 of the LEDs. Right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And this is the next 4 of the LEDs because I have 8 RGB LEDs. So you can start seeing all the numbers here. Then down here, this is the first 4, and that's the next 4. So with RGB, if you just do the normal RGB, you have to have the number divisible by 3. So it has to, the end number of pins had to be divided by 3 and get 0, or get a round number, not 0, but like a round number, nothing left over. So if you only put instead of if I took one pin off here, it will fail, right? Because it's not divide. It will get 0.66 after it, not 0.0. Our modulus should be equal to 0. That's kind of how it checks. So when you're doing regular RGB, you have to put it in. And also when you put it in, the RGB pins have to be sequential. I mean, they don't have to be sequential, right? Let's say the first R red is 1, the next one is 12, then the next one's 5 for some reason. But they have to be red, green, and blue, so that it lines up like that. But the number, it doesn't have to be sequential, but the way you hook it up has to be red, green, and blue in the same kind of LED. So that's kind of some quick things about. This is the first way to do it. So there's the regular group RGB. Then the next way to do it, which is probably simpler if you have things set up already. So this is group RGB fast. So this is the same file, actually, just a little different. So this one, you just put the red number in. So once you put 1 in, then it assumes green is going to be 2, and blue is going to be 3. So these numbers have to be sequential after that. So you put the number in, then the next 2 numbers have to be sequential right after the red number. So here's 13, it's going to be 14 and 15. So if you put 16 in here, but it will check too. So if I put 15 in here, because this is 13, 14, 15 is in here, when you put 15 in there, it will go, wait a minute, we have that number in there already. So it will error out if you put 15 there. So, it has to be 16. So as you can see, there's 8 numbers here, right? So that kind of matches up. If you take all these numbers and divide it by 3, you have 8 kind of thing. So as you can kind of see how it goes. So you can make it look, it will be a lot more easier to put the RGBs into it. And also I have everything sequential here. You don't have to have it sequential. For example, these are the first 4 LEDs, right? And I had that sequential where it lights up one at a time, right? Going from left to right. But what if you want to do the ends, then the next one in, then the next one in, right? Well, you can do that. You can just move the 10 here, right? So then it'll do pin, 1, 2, 3, green, then it'll do 10, 11, 12 green, then it'll do 4, 5, 6 green, then 7, 8, 9 green. So these numbers don't have to, and especially if you want to do a different lighting up effects, you can change them around. Like I said, you have 255 groups that you can make any way you want to. So it's kind of opened up to how you want to do it. I just want to make sure you don't have to always put it in the number sequentially like this. You can move them all around. It's just when you put 16 in here, 17, 18 is going to be after it, right? Where in this one, if you put 17 in here, you have to put 17, 18, 19 or something. Or was it, or it was 16, sorry. It was 16, 17, 18. So all those pins are already in this group. So that's kind of the difference between group RGB and group RGB fast. Then the color is pretty easy. You just put color, Then you put the color's name in, so you can put any string that you want to. You just don't make it huge or anything. Then the next one, it needs 3 numbers after that. And that's the 8-bit value. So if you go 2 to the 8, it's 256, or 0 to 255. So 255 is the max. Then you can put 0 and 0. So that's red, right? So the red LED is going to go on, and the green blue will be off. But down here you can see yellow, so that's red and green is turned on. But I found out is if you put it down to too small. Oh shit. Okay, sorry, I'm back. Actually, the anesthesiologist called in the middle of this, so yeah, that's some of those things. Yeah, so as I was talking about the color, if it gets too low, I noticed with the pack LED 64, it wasn't going on. So when I had like just 64 here, the LED wasn't turning on. But if I used like 96, it came on. So just kind of more be aware about that. If you put these too low, the color might not come in. So I would stay probably above like 80. Maybe it'll be a good thing to do. But all the stuff I kind of went through is all here in the group file info. And also it gives you like examples of how to do things. Here's the example of the RGB. Here's RGB fast. Here's where, eventually you can do a group not regular if you wanted to, but right now it won't do anything, so it's not used. And also I go through examples of illegal things that you can't do. Like you can't have like a group number above 255, or a pin that's out of range for the device, or you can't have a group with nothing in it, right? Actually, that should be group RGB. There we go. So you can't have like a group with nothing in it, right? You got to have like a number in there, or a fail kind of thing. And you can't mix RGB and RGB fast. So you have to choose one or the other. It just makes it more, because then it would be of a pain just to figure out, is it fast, is it not fast kind of thing. But those kind of going through all of that. Then the next thing is the game files now. So in the game files, it'll look for, so it gets the game name, then it'll look for the game name file in the light file. So here will be the light files, and like that I'll have lightFileInfo that goes with it. So in there, you saw me played House of the Dead 4. So if you have a file named hotd4.txt, it will load that file. If it can't find it, it'll look for a default file. And if it can't find the default file, then don't do anything. So as you can see here, these are some examples. So with these files, like before, you can put in any blank line anywhere that you want. Also, you can put notes anywhere you want to, too. You can have like that, go like that. That will be totally fine. What this really looks for is for the colon to know it's an output signal, then exclamation point, which is the controller. So the first number here is the controller number. So what I was showing you before, that number really matters. That's 0. So you put 0 here. If you had another controller, that will be 1. Then you put 1 here. Then after that, you can put the group numbers in. So here it's using group 0. So if we come back, this is group 0 here. So it'll be using all these pins here. That's how it kind of goes into it. then if I wanted to go 1 or 2 in there too, if I go 1, 2, it would do the same kind of thing. Okay. And also one thing is if you put in if I did 1 and 2, it will make those groups act separately from each other. So if you were doing like a sequence, group 1 would be doing a sequence and group 2 would be doing a sequence. Or you can have it, if you do group 0, then it's all just one big one. So then with that, the next thing is here is the command. So now we did the output signal, we did the controller and the group. Next thing is the command. So here is what I was doing with the recoil, where it was doing the white in the center and the red on the outside. So that you'll have, this one you need 2 colors. You have the color in the center, the color in the sides, then you have time on, time off, and the number of flashes. So if you come here, if you come down here, you'll see all the commands and examples of the 7 commands you can do, and they're all RGB. Then also I have, the color, the side color, time. So delay here is time delay down here. So then you can know exactly what you want to put into everything. And also I give the example that I use. So all the info is there into this file, so you can read it to figure out. But as you can see, it's very much like the default LG. You put the signal instead of the player, it's the group or the controller and the groups. And you can have multiple in there. So if you had another controller, you can go 1 and do group 0 or do group 5. So, but every controller has to have its own line. So you couldn't go like 0 and 3. That wouldn't work. It would fail out. But if you do another controller with a different group, that will be fine. And that's all explained. I go through all of that in here too. As you can see, here's an example of the controller and groups and all that. But I say check out that kind of documentation and kind of figure it out and see if you like it. Try to take, then give me feedback. So you can give me feedback at the GitHub site. You can make an issue, or on YouTube, you can leave a comment for this release, or in the Facebook groups, you can make a comment in the release. So that feedback will help me out greatly. Then I'll put it in and also help me get stuff that people want. But that's it. Thanks. Bye.